Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Breakout Investors. Today we are speaking with the management of CalNano, ticker CANOF, specifically the company's CEO, Eric Eierman. Joining me on today's call is Breakout investor Florian Buschek. This call is being recorded on August 9th, 2023, and will be distributed via the Breakout Investor channel on our YouTube as well as our podcasting network. Look for Breakout Investor content wherever you subscribe to podcasts. We are on Apple, Spotify, Audible, and most other platforms. Supporting materials for today's discussion will be posted on the Breakout Investors collaboration app available on the app stores and at app.breakoutinvestors.com. The application and much of the research content is free. For those of you already on the Breakout Investors platform, you can share your questions for the company using the Discuss tab in Florian's Breakout Investor Room, as well as using the chat feature inside this call. So let's get the call started with me handing the call over to Eric for a quick presentation, which will be followed by Florian leading the Q&A session. Eric?
Well, thank you. I appreciate the introduction, and thank you everyone for the opportunity here to speak and give my little presentation, and then answer some questions afterwards. My name is Eric Eierman, CEO of California Nanotechnologies, and I'm excited to share what we at CalNano do and the different things that we're excited about. So at CalNano, our mission here is to bring the next generation of materials to market using our cutting-edge technologies. So what exactly does that mean? It means that we're using our tech and our expertise to provide solutions and support to customers developing the most advanced materials and products that we believe and they believe can change the world. This is everything from key parts for a green steel startup company that we're working with, to aerospace hypersonic materials, to advanced battery components, and much more. We work with everyone from university level to national labs to emerging startup companies, all the way to Fortune 500s, such as your Boeing, your GM, your GE, just to name a few. We're working with these customers from fundamental R&D and material science all the way up to manufacturing and production, and that's really the next phase of our growth. Over the past decade or so, we've been able to establish a solid foundation of R&D and experience and know-how. And as of late, that's really started to come to fruition. As you can see, increased revenue 30% year over year to about 1.6 million. Global customer base is now over 135 different partners that we work with. Nearly 10,000 runs on our proprietary equipment, and those two key equipments, technologies that we use. First one is cryogenic milling, also known as cryomilling, and the second one is spark plasma sintering, acronym of SPS. So I will tell you a little bit more about those now. So our first technology, cryomilling, it's a specialized grinding technique done at cryogenic liquid temperatures, negative 190 degrees C, so extremely cold. Has a bunch of unique benefits compared to traditional grinding, but some of the key ones, first one being particle size reduction. So that's where we're taking an input of a powder material and then reducing it down typically to nano size. So think of something that's like a plastic that's very difficult to break down. It'll smear, and we put it at cryogenic temperatures, and then it's able to break down much easier. And so you can make really fine particles that have kind of a variety of applications in the nanomaterial space. And then the other key one is material property improvements. So could be strength, could be electrical properties, chemical properties. But the best example I have for that is we worked with an aerospace company to develop a special aluminum alloy, and we took a traditional one and we were able to double the strength just through cryomilling, through a process in which the the microstructure, so the internal part of the powdered material, was changed to what we call nanograins, and that was able to just double the strength of the inherent material itself. And as you can see here, we do have one process patent that has been granted. So that's used for high volume, cost effective and safe processing using Cryomilling. And so we're working with our customers to find the right application in order to scale the technology. Now, as we look at the second technology that we have, spark plasma sintering, also known as SPS, it's a process in which we are taking that powdered material, could be from cryomilling or could be from materials that are sent from our customer, and we're turning that into solid parts. And so this equipment has a lot of unique benefits. First one being that it's extremely versatile. So we can do a run with like a special titanium alloy at one moment, and then the next being a high temperature ceramic armor plate from a material like boron carbide. Then from there, it also is very good at speeding up your cycle times compared to traditional sintering. And so that's 10 times faster than the traditional technique, which is just to put a part in a furnace. That's just an oven that heats things up. So we're talking minutes for this versus hours. And then finally, the mechanism in which it's heating is actually with electrical current being pulsed through the material and the mold that is holding the powder material. And that makes it a lot more cost effective because you're only having to heat exactly where you want, which is at the part, versus a furnace, which you have to heat this entire furnace or entire chamber up to the temperature you want. So that being able to focus that makes it a lot more cost effective. And this has been the main driver of revenue over the past 5 years or so. Now, as we're looking at some key points on CalNano, so we are, as I mentioned, with these technologies, high technology service provider, solution provider, I like to say. So it's in a very specialized field, but it's a growing field of advanced materials. So all the customers are coming to us to, look to develop the next generation of materials, products, and we're looking at, help them with that. Now looking specifically at SPS, it's also in a growth stage. So we're seeing increased customer demand. So we're, just from year over year, 100% uptick in the quotes and inquiries that we're getting in around SPS. So we're looking to take advantage of that. We also are seeing on more of a zoomed out scope that U.S. manufacturing is looking to come back onshore. And so there's a lot of different attractive tax and grant incentives that are, we're looking to make us as a domestic supplier be a part of that as well. Then we have, our transition from R&D, which is what we've been focused on primarily, to commercial scale. So looking to land larger commercial contracts with these long-term R&D programs that we've, been working on for a while now. Even so, with just the R&D programs that we have, we've still been able to prove that we have a positive, profitable business model, generating 65% gross margins, 20% plus EBITDA, and positive cash flow. And then finally, it's a high barrier of entry when it comes to trying to get into the same sort of market and what we're doing. We've built over a decade of experience and tech infrastructure. Build a wide network of customers and partners across multiple industries, and then just over that time built up a credibility and a solid reputation as experts for both SPS and for cryomilling throughout the field. Now taking a look here, these are our 4 different areas for sources of revenue within our business model. So our main driver here, the first one is R&D and manufacturing. So we are looking at this as a customer comes to us with a special application. We help them to develop the alloy. We then will cryomill to create it, and then we will sinter that with SPS and provide that to them. So this is all done as a service or solution to figure out their their next generation of products. Then our next one, even if a customer ultimately wants to bring the technology back in-house, such as SPS, we've actually partnered with a manufacturer of the SPS equipment to provide our customers with that ability to go through us to get that. So even if that's the case, we're still a part of that chain, and they don't want to do the production with us, but they still will get equipment through us. And then with final two categories being post-production services and then aftermarket parts. So post-production is after we do the actual sintering, we will then be able to do post-processing such as machining, such as testing, different analysis capabilities. And we've set that up to be we call a vertically integrated company or a one-stop shop for our customers, when it comes to their development of their new products. And then the aftermarket goes with the equipment sales, where we make the actual tooling that goes into the SPS furnace in order to sinter the various materials. So we're kind of staying on all facets of the SPS chain. Now here at we have a company that we worked with that's a perfect example of someone that came to us with a problem, and we helped them develop a solution to it. So this is a company called Ambry. They're making liquid metal batteries for energy scale grid storage, and they came to us with a problem with the life expectancy of their battery. And so we helped with both our milling and our SPS capabilities to be able to help them develop the component and the right material to be able to increase the life cycle of their product. And ultimately, that's going to help them to scale up into higher volume production, which we are plan to be a part of. And the key point here that I'd like to make is that they were working with a lab before us that was doing similar sort of things, and what took the other lab a year, we were able to do in less than a month. And so we take that approach with all of our different customers, and we've developed the experience over the years to be able to really adjust quickly and make the appropriate calls to help our customers do things a lot faster than they would on their own or with a different lab. Now, as we zoom out here, more at the SPS market as a whole, you see there's going to be some significant growth over the next 5 years, specifically in the U.S., where we're going from estimated 100 million to 400 million in the total market. And some of the reasons are that SPS is just becoming a key technology for many of the fast-growing industries, such as green energy, batteries, aerospace and space, and clean tech. Where a lot of advanced materials are needing to be used that can't be sintered in traditional ways. And so another thing that this growth is being fueled by is funding through the Inflation Reduction Act that went through last year, and then also just the general push for advanced manufacturing to be bring back into the U.S. And so I think with this comes a significant opportunity for CalNano to grow, as a key player here in this market in North America. Now, as we take a look at we call our Flywheel to create success for the company. First, as I mentioned, we start with our R&D customers. So that's the foundation that we've been building. Then next is the conversion into commercial customers, commercial contracts for both repeatable revenue, and then building credibility for the technology. So both SPS and Cryomilling. As we gain more credibility, more people are seeing it. That gains more interest in the need for the R&D services, or want to kind of explore the technology, which gains us more R&D customers, and then the cycle continues. Now zooming in a little bit more specifics on the chain here, the wheel. So as I said, we start with the R&D departments that we're working with. So working with the latest material advancements for next generation materials, from working with the universities all the way up to the large Fortune 500 companies, continuing to grow that base over the years, expanding to different departments within companies, and then with the goal now to secure larger contracts, and along the way securing partnerships to help increase our distribution and our reach across across all these industries. And so, as I mentioned, we've partnered with one of the manufacturers of SPS technology, the equipment. We've partnered with a company that Fritz, that is doing complementary milling. So looking to work with them and get some of their customer base to work with us. And then Aerosint, who is a company that's actually combining 3D printing with SPS technology. And we think that is one of the areas that we think is going to be a big driver of growth, because everybody wants to make really complex parts. So working with them and their equipment, I think, is going to be another place that we want to focus on. And ultimately, this is all getting us toward having a more diversified and predictable revenue stream, with setting up these commercial partnerships to contribute to just a stronger operating profile. And now we'll take a look here at, as I mentioned, the kind of wide, diverse customer base that we have, both in size and in industry. We are working across many different applications. You see here, the energy, aerospace, defense, in automotive, also in different tooling industries, and the semiconductor industries, another big area. So one thing I want to mention here, which you may have seen in previous press releases if you've been following us, is that we have a large customer in the green steel industry. So their goal is to decarbonize the production of steel. So production from iron ore into raw iron. And so we are helping them to make a key component within their process that they're doing. And we're making multiple different alloy systems per week with cryomilling and with SPS, and helping them to fine tune and find their exact right chemistry to be able to make the product. And progress has been going well, and we expect them to continue to scale up and move with us as they grow and will grow. Now we'll take a look here at some the competitors within our space. So first one is technology manufacturers. So they offer a R&D service, but with their true interest and their true goal is just to sell equipment. So they may kind of take some of the R&D efforts that we would normally get would go to them, but ultimately they're not looking to do any sort of even high volume R&D or production at all. It's just to sell equipment. And then we also have the national labs and universities. So same thing there. They're working, obviously always in the R&D space, but they can be difficult to work with. It's a little slower, a lot more red tape, and so we actually work with them to help support them, and when their customers are either need additional R&D work, or when they finished a project and they're looking to scale that up to higher volumes. We've collaborated and done a lot of work with them to kind of take advantage of their network to be able to grow our own business. So here you see some of the equipment. So on the right here you see one of our cryogenic mills. The frost on the outside is from liquid nitrogen. So like I said, very cold. So that's where you're seeing that. And then we have on the left, you have our SPS equipment. So we have two SPS systems and 3 cryo mills. One that we just recently got, which was which now triples our capacity, that we're looking to get up and running and work with our customers to be able to scale that up. And same for the SPS. We're exploring options of scaling and adding capacity. But even so, before we are kind of finish our scaling, we're only running right now at about a third capacity with the R&D work that we're doing now. So there's a lot of headroom for growth, and we're seeing a lot of demand, and so we're looking to just continue to take advantage of that and grow with what we have going right now. Now taking a look at our team. So I have myself. So I actually started here as an intern, and over the last 10 years, I've worked my way up to CEO. So I have a very intimate knowledge of the business, of the technology, and everything that goes on, at CalNano. Then I have my two vice presidents, Spencer and Brian. They've been here as long as I have. They have various expertise in machining and SPS and cryomilling. So everyone's cross-trained, so they're very familiar with everything. Spencer oversees the operations, and then Brian is the head of R&D and primarily in the SPS lab. And then Chris is our head of business development. So he's a former CalNano insider, and then now he is returning back. He was previously at a company called Jet Hot that was doing high volume production of coatings, and so I think that he's going to be a key valuable member when it comes to us going from R&D where we're at now into the commercial manufacturing and production. Now, taking a look at our board of directors, we have Roger Dent, who's an expert in capital markets and small cap investing. We have Sebastian, whose expertise is in operations and manufacturing, has worked at a lot of multinational companies, along with having his own multiple small businesses. And then Dr. Rico Lavernia, who is a professor here at one of our local universities, University of California, Irvine, who is an expert in all things material science and actually specifically focuses on research in spark plasma sintering and cryogenic milling. So here we have our financial performance over the past 5 years. So you can see over the last 3, we've seen steady growth, both in revenue and in operating cash and EBITDA. In fiscal year 2022, there was a one-time anomaly of about $150,000 that was from the PPP loan forgiveness along with tax credits. So if you discount that, then it's been just a steady increase in both cash flow and EBITDA. We've also put a lot of work into strengthening our balance sheet. So as cash flow has improved, we've been able to steadily pay off debt. We've made a recent, large lump sum payment back in Q4 of last year, and we're looking to continue to do that. But with our key focus still being on bringing into investment into growth of the company, as in the short and long term. Now here you have our cap table and the insider ownership. So we're sitting right now at about 5.6 million Canadian or 4.3 million US. As you can see, the company that we owe our debt to is actually our largest shareholder. We have a very positive, strong relationship with them. We're in good standing, and we we actually share a building with them that we actually spun off from them back 15 years ago. And so, as I mentioned, we have a very strong relationship with them. And then the remaining insiders make up about 38% or so of the ownership. Well, yeah, just wrap things up. Thank you. I appreciate the time, everyone listening in. And I'm really excited about what CalNano has going right now. So many opportunities coming in for us, with our technologies. We've put a lot of hard work in setting up the foundation and building up our customer base to establish our credibility, within these industries. And we believe we're hitting a turning point now. We've seen, as I mentioned, the uptick in requests for 100% year-over-year increase. And now our goal is, as I mentioned, to transition from these larger, kind of long-term R&D projects that we've been working on and helping to develop these products with our customers and turning them into commercial contracts. And these can vary from anywhere from the high hundreds of thousands of dollars to to multi-million-dollar contracts per year. And so, we're really excited about that. And overall, we think that what's to come is going to be pretty special, and we're looking forward to where this technology is going to go, and how we're going to kind of grow, and how CalNano is going to move forward here into the future. And so, with that, I appreciate you for all your time, and I look forward to any questions.
Thanks, Eric. Very interesting presentation. To kick things off, so there is the opportunity for participants to ask questions. You can type it in the chat. You can raise your hand and speak. And until then, to kick things off, I'm going to start with the questions. So one would be, what is sort of your competitive advantage? What stops other people from doing cryomilling, buying an SPS machine and offering the same services as you? What stops people from doing that? So what is your sort of secret sauce?
Sure. So on the cryomilling side, we have taken a traditional mill that's supposed to be run at room temperature, and actually modified it ourselves to be done at cryogenic temperatures. So we are very novel on that side. So someone would have to kind of figure that out from scratch to be able to run the way that we do at cryogenics. So that's how we have the competitive advantage there. On the SPS side, well, it is true that someone else can go and buy their own SPS system and start to operate it. We've built over a decade of the network, the materials knowledge, the people that know how to kind of operate and develop materials around the technology. That makes it difficult for someone to come in from scratch and be able to kind of do what we're doing. The example I like to give is that if someone were to get into SPS and they wanted to sinter materials with this, they would come in and they would focus on one material system or one product that they would go from fundamental R&D into production, because that would be your quickest path to be able to turn a profit, versus the way that we did, which is just going across all different industries and working with everyone, just focusing on SPS by itself to be able to help everyone across industries develop their product. So that takes a lot more time. It's a lot slower to be able to get there, and we did it based off of necessity and how things just kind of organically grew. But and it's proving to be very, very good. We're profitable and we're moving forward really well. But for someone else to come in and try to do that, it wouldn't be the best decision starting from scratch to try to do exactly what we're doing.
And so I would assume your vertical integration also helps a lot in that regard, because you can offer sort of the whole package.
I appreciate. Yeah, that's a great point that I did not mention. Yeah, so we've set up over this last decade a lot of the supporting equipment, from its analysis capabilities, testing, the post processing, and even making our own internal tooling, for us to be really agile, when it comes to the quick turnarounds. So yeah, that would be another thing you'd have to start from scratch to be able to do that.
Yeah, and I mentioned it because I have made the same experience working at a very small company myself. Very often you deal with very, very large companies, conglomerates, and the person on the other side of you is often just really glad that you can offer the whole package and she doesn't have to look after anything else.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
it's always
exactly.
people you deal with.
Yep.
And so, yeah, you talked about your margins, which are fairly good for a manufacturing company. Obviously, you're a bit more than a manufacturing company, but can you go into a little bit more details about your gross margins? What drivers are there? What are the important levers, and how would that sort of look like maybe in the future as well?
Sure. So yeah, we do have very high gross margins because we're providing, it's a very high value components, and there's, it's a technology that's not widely out there. So it's something that we can provide that really high value, and so we can, charge accordingly. The other thing is that we're not making our own raw materials, so they're providing that to us. So we're not forced to put that into take that away from our margins. So it's customer provides us with the material, and we're just the ones that are doing the physical, processing of it. So sintering. Moving forward, as we get into the higher volumes in the manufacturing, our goal is to keep those margins at the same level. Inherently, we will have to see based on how the market feels and how different customers we're working with, if that, with the higher volumes, if that needs to come down somewhat, as will happen sometimes when you're scaling up to higher volume and manufacturing. But the goal and the idea, and I think because we're providing such a high value service, is that we can keep it up at those levels.
We have a question from Garrett. So how are you thinking about future growth if you are at an inflection point? For example, the possibility to expanding to commercial applications. How would that look like in terms of capex, and how would you fund any such capex?
Sure. So on the cryomilling side, as I mentioned, we did recently get a new piece of equipment. It's actually double the size of our current pilot scale mill. So with that, it would just be a matter of expanding our space a bit, doing the necessary modifications to be able to grow that, or to make that mill into what we need as a cryogenic mill. Then on the SPS side, as I mentioned, we still have a good amount of capacity on our equipment we have now, so there's still growth to be had in the current situation. And then for future expansion, it would mean getting a new piece of equipment, and that capex is anywhere in the $1 million to $2 million range of what equipment will cost to be able to do that, and then also some of the additional infrastructure that would be required to get that. And we're going to be looking at different avenues for how to get that money. So could be a possibility of an equity raise. That's definitely a possibility moving forward here, along with just traditional debt instruments, financing, leasing. Like I said, we do have partnerships with SPS equipment manufacturers, so we can, we have been in talks about special arrangements on that side with them because of our partnerships that we've set up. So there's a bunch of different ways that we're doing it, and that's going to the expansion is going to facilitate those $1 million, $2 million plus sort of contracts that we're looking at as we're looking to scale up to commercial. And as I mentioned, because we're at still current capacity where we're on now is still relatively low. We still have really a lot of headroom for growth, 2-3 times where we're at now for the equipment that we have currently. And also the thing I want to mention was that for the SPS equipment, it's about a year or so out when you place that order, and we're going to be looking once we land, once we've got that customer and we landed that commercial contract, is when we're going to be placing that order to do it, because we explored possibly ordering it beforehand, try to stay ahead, but just at our current level and how the business is right now, to put up that much money just didn't seem right strategically, to try to get ahead too much. I think that we've built up the network where we and the foundation where we can wait until we land that contract and then place that order, and things we can make that work better.
The current debt that you have, How big of a burden is that for you? How do you intend to proceed with that?
Yeah, it's not much of a burden at all. We're in actual we're in talks right now with Omnilight about a restructuring to make it even more favorable for us. As I said, we have a really strong relationship with them. In good standing, they own 19% of us, so they're incentivized to make us to help us to fuel growth because it's going to ultimately be very beneficial for them.
And then you mentioned sort of larger contracts that you are looking to get. Do you have any estimates of the sort of potential areas where you could grow into? How I'm hesitant to ask for a total addressable market, but sort of you're obviously in quite a niche, so it may be a little bit difficult to appreciate what the actual opportunity is for you guys.
Yeah, it's difficult to, I've put a lot of thought into like trying to figure out what our true addressable market is, but it is hard to quantify because we're, as if you saw, we touch so many different industries, and even if we only take we're only in a small niche of each industry, some of those industries are billions and billions of dollar worth of industry. So if we just touch a small amount of all those, the addressable market is still hundreds of millions of dollars that we can we can tap into. And the big one right now that we're working with in that green steel company, that's a huge push, and there's millions of hundreds of millions and more dollars being put into getting the green steel industry getting the steel industry to be more green. And so we're positioning ourselves to be a part of that and get that funding and be able to help to facilitate that decarbonization. So that's the big one right now that I would say in the short term.
And so how do you get your business? How do you approach potential customers? How does the customer know that you exist? What opportunities you offer? How is your sort of sales strategy?
Sure. So over the years, we've gone to a lot of trade shows, different events, conferences, primarily focused on material science and the powder processing industry. And so that's how we've built our foundation with the universities, the national labs, the different companies that are there to explore what's the latest advancements in material science. And so we've built it up through that. And now we've put a lot of focus also on SEO. So a lot of focus on the search engine optimization for our new website that we have, because people are looking up now these advanced technologies, the things that we offer through, because there's a lot of research in our universities doing this sort of thing. And so you look up this technology, and we're the first one that pops up. And so that's kind of where it comes in. That in the last year, we've seen that huge uptick in new inquiries coming in, new quotes, has been through that, because people searching, we're a very unique offering, and they find us, and that's how we're getting a lot of our sales, along with referrals. Because with let's say a company like Raytheon that we work with, we start with one department, we get some contracts from them, they love what we do, they love the parts we're giving them, they talk to the other department that's in this other area that has someone they want that has a similar thing that they can do but totally separate, and that just goes on and on and on. And then they talk to different companies that maybe they previously worked with. The people in universities are going out to companies they're going with. So it's been a slow process, but now I think once it starts rolling, it's snowball effect, and it's just gonna keep growing and growing and growing. And the longer we go with the continuing to improve our capabilities, improve our know-how, And without, as I mentioned, why competition wouldn't show up, the bigger we get, the more we're going to be stabilized as the place to go for this this sort of thing.
Is there also a little bit of a recurring aspect to some of your contracts? What I mean is, are there often just follow-on opportunities? Because usually you don't do anything in the order of mass manufacturing. That's just not what you do, what the technology offers. But is it often just individual project-based with follow-on projects, or how does sort of a typical relationship look like?
Yes, yeah, it is very recurring, with customers coming back to us, multiple times. So we'll do an R&D program, a development program. That phase of it will finish, and then there may be some gap for analysis and testing, and then they'll come back to us again for either the same program and expansion on that, or for a new one that is coming in, in the R&D department. And so that just continues and reoccurs. And so customers that we've worked with, will continue to come back to us on a yearly basis for new programs, new things that they come up with. And so it's one of those things. It's like the example I'll give is like with real estate, like a realtor. Like once you have a big enough network of people that you're selling homes for, every 5 years or whatever, they're coming back, and so you're always going to keep having business. And that's kind of the same thing that we've seen over the years, is that we have a customer that does a big project, they may be finished with that, but then the one from 2 years ago comes back and they have their big project, and then it just repeats. And we've been steadily growing. It's a little ebbs and flows, but it's been steadily growing upward, and with more sales, more marketing, more getting out there, that's only increasing. And then put on top of that we're looking to transition the R&D into more of the we wouldn't call it mass manufacturing, but to the higher volume manufacturing and producing products, 100,000 products parts a month, sort of thing. That's only going to add to the growth that we have.
So one of the interesting developments I think that should really help you is sort of the trend of onshoring and friendshoring, maybe, because thinking about it, the sort of specialized services and manufacturing that you do is something that can be do extremely well, also with sort of US wages, and where competition with low wage countries, China, etc., is not necessarily as big of a deal. So do you see any sort of additional tailwinds for you in that regard? Maybe also some support from the government in what way ever there might be. Do you see anything in that regard?
Yes, yeah, for sure. There's definitely tailwinds from the onshoring of manufacturing and wanting to get advanced manufacturing, back here into the U.S. With government pushing a lot of effort, and just we've talked specifically with certain companies that they're maybe a startup or maybe a little past startup that are coming to us and saying we need to make this, but normally we would have just gone, probably would have 10 years ago, we just would have went overseas to make this because it would have been cheaper. But now there's all these incentives, and there's just this general push and this feeling, that's in, within the U.S. to keep things domestically. And so us being here and what we're doing, and the fact that we can provide these solutions to them, we're seeing definitely some tailwinds from that. And I'm also setting up partnerships with these other kind of like adjacent government entities that help to get larger government contracts, which is traditionally we haven't gone down that path too much. We just haven't had the expertise to go and get those. But now as we are growing now and I have more resources and there's more things there that I'm starting to pursue all these different areas as well. So there's a lot of different funding opportunities out there to fuel our growth.
Another question from Gareth. He's asking about the sales cycle. How does that look like? Timelines for deals to close, to get into production, etc.
Sure. So a traditional sales cycle from the time we get the inquiry or we make the first contact with a customer, it's usually about 2 to 3 weeks before we've landed that purchase order, and roughly a little bit after that where we would begin the work, begin the production, the research work. So it's usually a pretty quick cycle, because when they come to us, they're interested. They know, they're looking for an advanced material solution, and we've set up the cycle where we can, tell them what they need to know and help them to put things in place and get things started quickly. So that's in general what it is. And right now we have myself and my head of business development as the two main points of contact for sales and getting sales. And then, as we continue to grow, we're going to obviously be growing our sales team.
Perfect. That leads me exactly to my next question, which is, in terms of resources, manpower, what do you need to scale further? Do you need anything? And also, how does it relate to sort of your cost side, SG&A, etc.?
Yes, we'll need, for scaling up, we will need more personnel. So we will need more employees to be able to operate, to max out the capacity of the current equipment that we have. That's really the limiting factor when it comes to, other than the capex for expansion of getting more equipment. Really, that's the main thing, is just additional employees, and that is going to be primarily from people that are coming out of school in the engineering field, is what we found, because we need this technology. It needs a level of kind of not experience, because there's not many people that have used it before, but just a stable foundation of understanding engineering principles and some materials, to be able to make decisions accordingly. So that's kind of where we're at now at the size of our team. Ultimately, as we get into more production, then we'd be looking for more, we'd be looking for operator level sort of personnel to bring in. But right now, that's what we're going to be looking at is engineers, and it'll come with the increased capacity, which will bump up the revenue, and so it'll go in conjunction with that.
And again, from Gareth, how much visibility do you have into future contracts? So are you able to plan a few months ahead? Do you know something already about 2024 maybe? What is sort of your visibility there?
Yeah, we can plan out for at least a few months. That continues to get better and better. In the past, it's been very short-lived, like a short visibility in terms of like a month, or less in some cases. But that continues to expand out to 6 months out now, and I think that's going to just keep going further and further as we continue to grow. More work comes in, and customers grow and contracts grow. So yeah, that's where we're kind of at right now.
And am I correct to assume that what you have in terms of visibility looks pretty good right now?
Yes, you're correct to assume that.
Excellent. A question on the risk side, in terms of raw materials, do you ever have any issues to get specific alloys, specific alloying additions maybe? Do you ever have any issues there, or do you anticipate any issues?
So far, no, we haven't seen any large issues with that. As I mentioned, a lot of the times is our customers are providing the material to us. So sometimes they will, yeah, there has been obviously some issues with the raw materials, but for the most part, it's been pretty consistent, pretty good network. And we've also, over the years, we've worked with so many different materials that we found a lot of different vendors that can supply all grades of different alloys and metals and ceramics and everything. So, even if one supplier may be having an issue, we have a whole vast number of other ones that we can go to make up that slack and get us materials if we're the ones that are sourcing the material for the customer, or they ask us for recommendations of where to source it. So yeah, as of right now, we haven't had too many issues.
Are there any risks I should ask about?
Nothing that I can, no large risks that I can think of. I mean, we've set up a good foundation. Obviously, I would say the largest, risk is just it's more of delay versus like any sort of large term, like long term, like downside risk. It's just that things may continue to take a little bit longer than, so the growth maybe go a little bit slower than like initial projections of going like the real snowball. But the tailwinds are there, and we just have so much. There's just so much going for us right now, and the customers just keep coming in. There's more interest. We're having more resources to get out there more, which generates more interest. So it's just, we're taking a long game approach. We have an infinite mindset here, not thinking about the short term. What's going to happen. We're not prioritizing for the next quarter or the next 6 months or something. We're looking at this as a longer term play, and I want to be here and grow this company to as large as I really can, whatever that might be. But I'm obviously we're going to set goals, and we're going to look to forecast and hit our goals and keep growing in a consistent way. But ultimately, it's about the long game. So we're just looking to position ourselves to be a long-term company.
Awesome. Almost done. Maybe one of the last questions, can you talk a little bit about insider ownership?
Yes. So right now, the main insider ownership would be from one of our directors, Roger. He has, look at the slide here. He owns about 8% or so. Obviously, Omnilight owns 19%. In terms of the employees and myself, we still own less than 1%, but we're looking to we're finding ways to be able to fix that and change that structure so that everyone's more incentivized. We've been issuing stock options over the years, so those are steadily kicking into place, and we've been looking to expand that as well, and there's some other ways. So yeah, we're just looking to keep everyone incentivized and on the same path for staying here and growth.
Excellent. Yeah, I think that is a very good ending. Is there anything else you wanted to mention?
I think we covered a lot. I appreciate all the questions. Hope that I was able to answer them well for you guys. And if there's anything else that comes up, if you have any additional questions, or anyone from your group, especially once you post it, if there's anything, let me know. Happy to jump on a call or answer some emails, myself or Brandon, to be able to answer anything you need. So thank you. I appreciate everyone's time.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, I think this was great. Very informative, very helpful. Great presentation, great answers, and I think you're doing really well as a CEO and as a company in total right now. Very clear is that. And yeah,
Thank you.
we will follow with interest, and yeah, let's see when we can repeat this. And thank you very much again.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, thanks everybody, and that's it. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Some or all the speakers may maintain positions in the securities discussed in this podcast. The views in this podcast expressed are those of the speakers, not Breakout investors. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon as a basis for investment decisions. Neither Breakout investors nor any of its affiliates makes any representation or warranty, express or implied, as to the accuracy or completeness of the statements or any information presented by this podcast and any liability, including in respect of direct, indirect, or consequential loss or damage, therefore is expressly disclaimed. No one on this podcast is an investment advisor, and no one is providing investment advice. Before investing in any company's stock, you must do your own research. Thank you for listening.